So, if you watched my introduction to the level design series, we're covering BSPs first. And I just kind of laid some out in the last video. But the first thing I'm going to cover is just some very basic hotkeys that you're going to want to use and remember throughout your entirety of Unreal Engine. So, the first one is when you select an object, it'll usually be in the Move tool. And if you're ever in an area where you can't, like you're out of the picture, but you have an object selected, like in the outliner or the hierarchy that you have like an object that you have named or something like that. I have my cube, so I'm just gonna hit F, and it's gonna focus, which is kind of really easy to remember, I think. And it'll just focus onto the object that you currently have selected, which is really nice, and it'll fit it onto your screen. So you can do that with any object. Just hit F. Now, another really nice hotkey is when you hit F, if you hold Alt and your left mouse button, you can pan and roll around your objects in whatever direction you move your mouse, which is kind of nice. But if you're a little too close to it, continue holding Alt and take your left mouse button off and hold your right mouse button, and you can zoom in and out. And it might be a little weird at first, but going left and right with your mouse will zoom it in and out. I recommend maybe turning the DPI on your mouse down if you're in Unreal, and try and get used to a little lower if it's fast, because doing things like editing levels and geometry will require a little more precision. So I'm just moving around it with my left mouse and panning in and out, or zooming in and out, panning around, zooming in and out with my right mouse, and panning around with my left. So that's the second one I wanted to show you. The third one is really handy for just switching between, I guess it's three packed into one. So when you're moving it around, if you want to go to rotate, just hit E. And I know that's kind of weird, you're like, but R for rotate. It's E for rotate when you have an object selected, and it's R for scale. I know, it's kind of weird, but it's R for scale, E for rotate, and W to get back to the Move tool. So, yeah, try and get used to that. Eventually it'll get embedded into your brain and you'll get used to it. But I'm going to stay in Move, and another cool hotkey is dropping your object down to the surface below it. So sometimes this can be weird if you have like say we're on a street and you have like a ledge here, like to a sidewalk. It's going to take the highest object it detects with collision. So it's not going to be based off of like just the mesh. Like, we'll talk about collision later, but if your mesh has collision, it will drop, this hotkey will drop it to the collision that it detects, not the mesh. So that hotkey is the end key. It's right beside your delete key and your page down. But if you just hit end when you have an object selected, it'll drop it to the surface. And it works really well on things like this where it's like a cube and stuff like that, or it's flat. Well, even for objects like this, if I focus on this, it'll go to the lowest vertice that it detects. So if I hit end, you can see it'll drop on there, which it's really nice for making sure your object is flat on the ground. Now I'm going to try and keep these videos around 5 minutes. So the last hotkey I'm going to show you in this video is the shift key. So when you have an object selected and you're in the Move tool, it doesn't really work in the other tools all that well, but you can hold shift And no matter which way you move it, your camera will follow the object. So I'm moving it on the x-axis, um, and once you let go, it'll move to that place. Sometimes it can be a little weird and it won't work, which is kind of annoying. But it doesn't matter what axis you move it at. It will move in that direction with your camera. So it's kind of nice. You don't have to reposition your camera when you're moving items. And then I could just hit the end key and drop it back down, and oh, it's gone out of my camera. Well, I'm just gonna hit F and focus right back down to it and pan around it. So these hotkeys are going to save you a lot of time in the next few videos that we're doing. But I'm gonna end it there. Thanks for watching.